Hello, my fellow geeks and gamers and comic book artists. Welcome back to the channel. I know that's a cheesy intro. I'm trying to find my own formula here. Anyway, I want to get into the video, but first, please subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Also, hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and try to share this channel with your friends so that we can help this channel grow. Thank you. And so, in this video, I want to talk about specifically fantasy genre movies and shows and some of the things I've been seeing recently and what I'm hoping to see in the future. Okay, so in Once Upon a Time, Once Upon a Time was one series that I really loved not growing up. It's, I guess, kinda. I was a teenager when it first came out, but Once Upon a Time really had this heart behind it that was very much had the feel of a fairy tale. I mean, if you think about Once Upon a Time, it had fairy tales. It had different fairy tales, the characters, and the heart behind it was that basically, or the core of the story, I should say, was, you know, fairy tales in the real world. Fairy tale characters who are cursed to live in the real world because of Regina, the evil queen. And for those of you who haven't watched the series, you really should check it out. It's honestly one of my favorites, and I hope to do another video on probably will do another video on this and other future videos. One second. Sorry about that. My mom was in the background. She's having lunch here. Anyway, so some of the things I want to talk about in this, when it comes to Once Upon a Time, the characters were very entertaining. You have Prince Charming, one of my favorite characters. He is honestly one of the things, he's one of the characters that I've always enjoyed in stories. I've always wanted to know more about him, and this really set up a story about him that made him a symbol of, you know, the the gentleman. That was one of the things I enjoyed until his cursed self was the complete opposite of that. But when it comes to this story of Once Upon a Time, you have Emma Swan, Henry Henry Mills, and Regina Mills in the cursed world of fairy tales brought to life, and then you have other shows and movies that are like it. I would say, or this one series I just checked out. It's more of a mini series. It's called The 10th Kingdom, and pardon my heavy breathing for some reason. Got congested again. I don't know what happened. So, another series I watched, like I said, was this one called The 10th Kingdom. It kind of is it's very similar to Once Upon a Time in the sense that you have this connection between the real world and fairy tale world, but these are the children or descendants, I should say, of, fairy tale stories. You have Cinderella, you have, Snow White, and they're not really in it except for Snow White. But in this series of the 10th Kingdom, it's very fun, very lighthearted, down to earth, and kind of cheesy here and there, which I really love cheesy storytelling. It's just, I don't know, me, my personality, I guess. But anyway, when it comes to this show, you have this character named Virginia. She discovers that her mother is actually kind of like the evil queen the second. And so, being the evil queen the second, she is kind of trying to do the same things that the evil queen did before, but now she's trying to take down the entire fairy tale kingdom, trying to establish her own empire. And it's just fun to see this whole thing play out. And the way they did it, it was definitely entertaining. I'm kind of glad they didn't do the whole true love's kiss, breaking the curse. It was actually it had kind of a darker ending to a degree, but it was entertaining, like I said. And the acting behind it is a little cheesy, as I said, the writing and all that, but it was a lot of fun to watch. And in today's time, I'm just looking for something fun to watch. Anyway, another series that's come out in recent days, of course, as many of you know, the Witcher series. Now, mind you, I was never a big fan of the Witcher books and all that. I have them, and it's not something that I'm always reading, but I do enjoy reading it from time to time. And when it comes to the books, they're definitely a lot more fun than the series. The series itself it tries to take a lot of focus away from Geralt of Rivia, and seeing him pushed to the side by the stories of Ciri, it's kind of a little awkward. Granted, it is kind of like that in some of the books, but not as much as it is in the series. I personally want to see more focus put on Geralt than any of the other characters. I'd like it to be a little bit more like the video games, in fact. Witcher 3 in particular. As many of you probably know, I'm getting back into gaming. It's going to be a little bit before I start doing live streams. Once I get to 50 subscribers, I might do live streams on YouTube. I'm still debating about doing it on Twitch. It's not something I'm a big fan of. I'm not really good at live streaming yet because I've never done this. I'm still getting the hang of YouTube. I try not to edit these videos too much when it comes to that. So anyway, kind of sidetracked there. So when it comes to Witcher the series, I want to see stories that revolve around heroism, altruism, and all that. But of course, Witcher is very dark and all. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to really tell the story of Geralt of Rivia as him being this dark, brooding character, always trying to do what's right, but also not putting up with any crap. So it's kind of hard to say how they're going to do it. And based on the fact that the recent seasons were not very good, I don't think the show is going to end on a high note, but I'm hoping it does. Now, when it comes to other shows or movies, another one would be World of Warcraft, a recent movie that came out, well, not really recent, came out I think in 2012 or 2015. It's been a while since I've checked, but this particular movie was something that I was kind of shocked by. It wasn't like the video games to a degree, but it somewhat still kept with the lore, and honestly, I enjoyed it. Personally, I liked the movie. It was fun, it was entertaining, and it was just way better. I mean, I kind of wish it was longer. In fact, it seemed kind of short. And personally, I like long movies. It's just something I enjoy seeing. It's like reading a book. Anyway, another one I want to talk about is Willow. Now, Willow the series. I would talk about Willow the movie, but I think I've already done that in a recent video. But recently, I binge watched the Willow series. I haven't watched it all. I think I'm not sure. I don't really know if I'm gonna go back to watching if there's another episode coming out soon. It's not to my liking. I like the Willow movie, but even then, it's not the best fairy tale movie to begin with. So, if you're a huge fan of Willow, I'm sorry. That's your prerogative, not mine. I like the Willow movie. I am a fan, but not as much as I would like to be. And when it comes to I'm gonna get to another plot, another fairy tale series is Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is not really a fairy tale; it's a fantasy series. And with this series in particular, it's very different from the books, of course. In recent days, I've noticed is that they've definitely wandered away from trying to keep to the lore of the books, and it's kind of sad, really, because I know that they could do well if they followed the lore, and I understand writers don't want to copy or emulate a movie or emulate a book. They want to do their own stories, and I understand that. But if you're going to copy an IP, copy something that people know and love, then you got to honor the original. Otherwise, what's the point? You're just trying to piggyback on the success of others. If you're going to piggyback on the success of others, then you need to honor it, not disrespect it. I can't stand the level of disrespect that these writers have in these studios for the original authors of these IPs. Really, they shouldn't be against it. Just keep with the original format. Honestly, though, I didn't really enjoy the Wheel of Time books that much, so to each his own. Anyway, that's all I really have to talk about in this video. But to wrap things up a little bit, I want to see whimsy brought back into fantasy series and movies. I want to see that light-hearted tone, things like The Princess Bride, and I don't want a reboot of The Princess Bride. No, never, never, never. I want to see an actual fairy tale movie with proper writing, a good author's touch behind it. Make it feel like a fantasy novel and have it be intense, a little bit of a Grimm's Brother flair to it to give it that dark tone, but with a lot of hope shining in the background. I would like to see character development where characters grow from season to season, and then every now and then throughout the episodes having to learn some kind of lesson. In life, we have lessons, trials by fire, trials by, you have struggles things that you're supposed to face. If you don't have struggle, then you don't have a story. If everything becomes easy, if everything comes easy to you, then you don't have one. You don't have our struggles make us who we are. They help us forge a path that is powerful, full of honor and glory in a good way. Now, I'm not talking about self-centered glory where you're trying to make yourself look cool, look great. No, I'm talking about the glory of honor, the glory of doing good for others, to help others in need, the glory of combat, of fighting the enemy, doing something for somebody other than yourself, and doing something outside of yourself. So, when it comes to this entire genre of fantasy and sci-fi, or sorry, not sci-fi, fantasy and fairy tale, I'd like to see more of that. Heck, it'd be great if they brought back Once Upon a Time, but with all new characters. Granted, I know that many people wouldn't like that, but there's so many fairy tales, so many fantasy stories to tell, things that could be done well. If not Once Upon a Time, then do something different, but similar to Once Upon a Time. Yet, like I said, you have the 10th Kingdom as an example for another fairy tale series that's been similar to Once Upon a Time. I mean, look at Westworld. It's not really a fairy tale, but it's got similarities. You have this adaptation of different, I don't know, just different elements that are not in the real world, but still kind of are. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, hit the thumbs up button down below, and ring that bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Also, be sure to share this video and share this channel with your friends to help this channel grow and reach new people. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.